So the last video we posted about Bernie Sanders, he was at a CNN town hall and he was asked about reparations for the American descendants of slaves. And if you had watched that video, he was trying to play dumb, like he didn't know what we were talking about at all. And we talked about in that video how his position is he does not want the American descendants of slaves to receive any kind of reparation, even though he's a Jewish person and his people has been the recipient of many reparations. It's kind of strange that he wouldn't relate to the pain of African Americans, right? The same guy you said that marched with Dr. King and was arrested, etc. You think he would be the first person to jump on board with that. But Bernie Sanders is a person who feels that black folks should get nothing at all for the pain and torment of what we went through in this country by the government, not some extremist groups. We talking about the actual United States government. Now, he was on The View and he was asked once again about reparations. And the reason why we're going to show this or put this out there and keep his feet to the fire too, because he wants the black vote and black people are on board now with reparations. It's time. It's been 400 years. It's been long enough. And as Martin Luther King had told us before he died, he said, it's time to get our check. That's what Martin Luther King said. That didn't come from us. So we have to continue the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, I want you to hear exactly what he stated on The View. And this time, he wasn't allowed to play dumb. He was told straight up what a reparation is. Let's roll that clip.
Poll numbers with African Americans were quite low. And you also don't support reparations for slave descendants. Why do you think your poll numbers are low, and why don't you support reparations?
Well, first of all, our poll numbers are not low. I think if you look at polls in the last 6 months, they're quite high among the African-American community.
Okay.
And even in 2016, we ended up winning by good margins votes from younger African-Americans and Latinos and whites. We did very well among younger African-Americans. Look, I happen to believe that at a time of tremendous disparity, the wealth gap, for example, between the white community and the black community is like 10 to 1. Health disparities are terrible. Environmental disparities are terrible. Flint, Michigan comes to mind.
Yeah.
So I think what we have got to do is pay attention to distressed communities, black communities, Latino communities, and white communities all over this country. And as president, I pledge to do that.
Why not support reparations then?
Well, what do you mean by reparations?
By reparations for slave defendants.
I know, but what does that mean exactly?
Money.
Well, I think that right now our job is to address the crises facing the American people and our communities. And I think there are better ways to do that than just writing out a check.
So as you heard, he straight up said that he don't believe that black folks should get any money. He said it should be done better than that. Okay, well, what is your plan? The thing is, you want to keep the status quo going. It's just that simple. It is. This guy is not going to change his mind on that. When people get to a certain age in life, they get set in their ways. He's not budging, and that's fine. He don't have to budge. So what we're going to present on him is, since he denies this, since he don't want it at all, he don't want to have a discussion, he gets aggravated about it, he acts like he don't know what you're talking about, then no, he is not the person that we're going to say, hey, black people, we think we should go that route. No, we have to stay planned and focused on what we're talking about right now. And reparations is definitely part of it. Now, it comes from people like us, many others who are on social media who's talking about reparations. We know all the platforms who's doing this right now, and shout out to all of them who are doing that. They're leading the conversation and has brought it to the mainstream on these shows like The View, etc. This particular message about reparations didn't come from no CNN, MSNBC, The Roots, which Jamal Sanders was freaking lying. Didn't come from none of them. They're towing the line. And them same people was against reparations the past 2 or 3 weeks ago, calling us names, calling us divisive, Russian bots and everything else. Now everybody now talking about reparations. Please, I already know what they're doing it for, because they had to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, listen, it's not going away. So let's see if I can get y'all to start talking about it so we can try to co-opt it or try to minimize it since it's not going to go away. We know that game. But we want to make sure that we're fair, because everyone that kept crying and complaining about y'all only going after Kamala Harris and Kamala, no, we ain't mentioning her right now. She's not even a mention. She stated she's not going to do any policies for black folks that benefit them. Fine, we talked about that. Now it's Bernie's time. He is a reparations denier. He don't want black folks to have anything, but he didn't say anything at all, when the United States government paid $3.1 billion last year to Israel. He didn't say a word about that. He didn't tell them, hey, we can't afford that. No. But don't even let them talk about paying anything to black folks and all of a sudden we can't afford it. When Bernie Sanders and those like him say they can't afford it, it's not a money issue with them. It's not. Because I'm going to show you in the next video how exactly we can afford a whole lot of things. But they can't afford it because they don't want the wealth gap closed. And the reason why they don't want the wealth gap closed is because they know the moment that it's closed and black people have an equal footing in this country and everything starts on a fair playing field, then their so-called white supremacy is gone. They know that because they know we get in a position where it's like this, we're going to exceed, we're going to shine. And the whole system was built off of keeping black people at a permanent underclass status. And so reparations threatens that. And that's why they can't afford it. Because there's a whole lot of things, if you really want to break down the finances of America, that we can't afford. A whole lot. We can't afford the prison industrial complex, but they make sure to keep that going. We really can't afford the military industrial complex, but they keep that going. We're spending trillions of dollars overseas. Every year in the billions we're spending, but they don't say nothing about that. This only time we can't afford something is when it comes to black people. That's it. But once again, as I go back to it, you can't afford it because you can't afford to lose your privilege. That's what it is. Just say that. I can't afford to lose my privilege, and reparations would fix the wealth gap. Just say it like that. But you don't want to say it like that because you know good and well you're just exposing yourself. And Bernie Sanders' attitude is exposing him too. Because one thing to play dumb and have a dumb look on your face, like, man, I don't know what y'all talking about. I mean, man, can you educate me? No, he's playing dumb and then being indignant and having an attitude. It's very easy to read through his face. He show it. And black folks, this is this man's contempt for you. Now, before I wrap this video up, you're going to have some folks like Sean King, which I just popped up on my feed on Instagram. He's all caping Bernie, and people in the comment section say, hey, man, Bernie don't want black folks to have reparations. Like, what you talking about? You know, and then you say, well, no, Bernie does this and he may not be perfect. I say, Sean King, you got to keep an eye on you. You know, there's a lot of things that we need to keep an eye on you about, but definitely we need to keep an eye on him. Because, you know, like I said, if we focus on American descendants of slaves, I mean, is he one of the ones that concerned that he wouldn't get anything if they start doing payouts in that area? I mean, I can go there in this video, but I'm going to let that alone right now. But the thing is, go to his Instagram and go see how he's caping for Bernie. I mean, he wrote almost a chapter on Instagram, how he caping for Bernie. But I'm proud of brothers and sisters that's going in there checking him too and letting him know that, wait a minute, but Bernie don't care about us like that. He don't. And if you listen to how Bernie talked in this thing, he's talking about, oh, poor white folks and poor this one and poor that one. You know what I'm saying? He ain't focused on what we got going on. When he clearly stated that there's a wealth, 1 minute you say there's a 10-to-1 wealth gap, and then next minute you talking about white folks and what? How can you have a wealth gap and then talk about how poor they are? You can't do that. You can't. It doesn't make sense. But Bernie Sanders, no, ladies and gentlemen. Don't even consider that guy. Move on to the next candidate. Let's see their position on it. And that's it. Like I said, it's not a hard solution. If you don't have any kind of black agenda, you just don't get the vote. It's not that hard. Either you support reparations or it's 4 years to Trump. One or two. I mean, it's your choice. I mean, it's not a hard, thing to figure out. You can get mad. You can get twisted. That's fine. But at the end of the day, it's a simple thing. Either support reparations for the American descendants of slaves and make sure it happens, or it's 4 years of Trump. We are in a position where we can have that position of power. The Democrats need the black vote. They need it. And you can get it, but you got to give something. It's no more political slutting out anymore. We're not going to go run and give you our votes for nothing. No, you're going to give us something. Voting is a business transaction. It is not something that you could just shame us to go do. Shame us for what? That doesn't work anymore. You can't tell us Trump's a racist, that we need to go vote and he has better policies than Trump. I don't care about that. So you think Trump invented racism or something? Or you think because he got in office, all of a sudden racism popped up in the country? I mean, come on now. You're talking to black folks. We have suffered the brunt of it. So Trump being in there another 4 years not going to stop racism, or him getting out going to stop racism. It's just that simple. But if you want Trump out, this is that simple. If you just got to have Trump out, then get on board with reparations. Let's make that happen. Or you're going to have Trump. I mean, it's just that simple. We just have to put it out there like that. But leave me a comment to think about the situation with Bernie Sanders. He is definitely a reparations denier. He has an attitude. He flat out says no. He says you ain't getting no money, and that's fine. You don't have to. So Bernie Sanders, you shouldn't even get through a primary, because I know good and well you're on the list. And actually, to me, and I will say this, you're in a worse position than Kamala Harris at this point. Because Kamala at least is bouncing around with it a little bit. Yeah, she said no and all that, but man, you are indignant and you have an attitude about it. To me, it's a whole lot worse than Kamala at this point. So it's a definite no for me, dog.